Hello and welcome to the 62nd PEMpodcast, the Psychic Guy Mystery Podcast. Can you believe 62? 62.
Wow.
It's like we're old.
No.
We're not. We are youthful. I miss you so much. I can't even tell you, Sandy, how much I'm like, it was such a joy having you here for 2 weeks. And Emmy's been looking for you. She keeps going into your bedroom and laying on your bed, like so sad and pathetic, and then I join her and we have a good cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's going to cook us dinner?
This is the worst. I know, right? Yeah. Who's going to cook us dinner?
So, it was so wonderful having you here. I really, 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 really miss you. So next year, a month, up here on a lake.
Somewhere.
As we kayak. To the ends of Lake Huron, back and forth. I told Matt the other day, I'm like, I wonder if anybody has ever kayaked across to the other side.
No.
And she's
you
like,
can't even see
do that.
Yeah, right. You can't see the other side. It's like an ocean.
It really pretty much is. It's like 100 miles at least or so.
It gives the impression Earth is flat.
Wonder how long that would take me,
Do not.
I'd go like 3 miles and be like, I'm tired. I'm broken. I'm tired. Paddle back. And it's been really, 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 really windy here. So it's been like kind of out of an English, I don't know.
Wuthering Heights.
Yeah, exactly. Like I always think about this setting where the three of them, and this is terrible, but I cannot remember, Graham Broker, right? And the woman who wrote Frankenstein, the gentleman who wrote Dracula.
Mary Shelley.
Yeah. And there were 3 of them, right, that wrote 3 horror novels when it was just terrible outside. They'd gotten together, and these are 3 of the most famous horror novels ever written, and it was just a terrible, I think, winter or something, where they were vacationing together, I think. I don't know, this is a story that I'm like kind of quasi remembering. And so they wrote these 3 horror novels, and I'm like, well, this is sort of a perfect setting because I'm currently writing the next MJ Holiday. So perfect,
environment,
wind, and drizzly and miserable and cold.
Ghosts in the house making their selves known.
Seriously, I still, every night if I have to visit the ladies' room, I still turn on every light, carry light to the restroom, and back.
I don't get up. Like, it's just do not leave this room.
I have a tiny bladder and I can't hold it. So, so that's not a luxury I have, unfortunately. So
did we share with the audience the bat that flew in and flew around? And I'm like watching TV in the living room.
Killed it.
Yeah. I'm watching TV in the living room, and all of a sudden something whips across, like in my peripheral vision, over my head. And I'm like, what the? And I look up, and it's a bat, and it is zooming like around and up and down. And so now I'm flat against the wall. This is the House of Horrors. Let's just be clear. I'm flat against the wall, and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So I grabbed a magazine. I don't know what I thought I was going to do with the magazine. If it came at me, maybe it would, and then it disappeared.
People magazine says
you need to leave through this window.
Yeah, exactly.
So I kept trying to like usher it over toward a window, and it would go near the window and it would zip away. Then it flew into the hall, and then the dining room, and then it ended up in the kitchen. And I'm like, damn it, it's going to the lights. So I'm trying to shut off lights, and I'm standing outside now with one light on outside.
Batty.
Come on, bat.
Cutie patootie.
It was gone. So then I'm like, shit, now I have to go to bed, and my bedroom has a light on in it. This is not going to be a good thing. So I creepy up the stairs. I go into the bedroom. I look around. I don't see the bat. I take barricades. I put them against the door because I didn't want the bat to come in. And what do you say the next day? Oh, they can get through like tiny little holes.
I didn't say that. Meg said that.
Oh, Meg said that. Okay.
Yeah. But I think she's confusing bats with mice.
Whatever.
She's like, they can sneak through a dime.
Yeah, no.
And granted, this little guy was small.
He was, I think, but he looked huge at 10 o'clock at night when nobody else is around. So I said to Meg the next morning, I go, you know what?
He's this big in the daylight, this big in the dark.
when you're alone. So I said to Meg, I go, I have some bad news, but I think there's a bat in your house. And she goes, oh no, I killed it. I'm like, what? She said, yeah, that's what the tennis racket by my bed is for. I'm like,
I know, horror, right? I don't know what bat she killed because we did find it. It had crawled up in the kitchen
yes,
between the window and the
I
screen.
think that's the bat that was scaring me.
Right.
Personally.
And then I rescued it.
Yes. Thank God.
Yeah. I
So
was like, don't tell Meg, she'll kill it. Don't tell Meg.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I managed to get it into a box, and it was really stormy and windy.
It was.
I put it, I protected it between a tree and like a big tank outside. So just so you know, please, please, please don't pick up a bat.
Never.
I wore gloves, and I had a big box with a lid, and was very, very, very careful. And just make sure that the bat could get out. And another thing to keep in mind, bats are actually really our friends. Yes, you know, they carry rabies on occasion, but most bats don't. Most bats don't. Okay. If you find one on the ground, don't touch it. Because bats actually, that's why they hang upside down, because they cannot fly necessarily off the ground. So they have to be off the ground in order to drop, to get lift and fly. So if you find one on the ground, call a rescue service. But if you do pick one up because you're heavily gloved and you have a box with a lid, put it somewhere where it can climb on a tree so that it can drop and get lift and fly away. So, because if you leave it on the ground, it's doomed. So
yeah. So anyway,
FYI.
So, you know, scary ghosts.
Little guy, like he yawned at me, you know, little tiny mouth.
Scary ghosts and bats. That's why I left. Okay. Let's be real. It's not because I had a plane ticket. I was like out of here. So since I've come home, twins are home, girlfriend's home. I'm now stuck in the corner of my living room recording today because all of my different office spaces or spaces for working in the house are occupied. So
see, if you came back, you could have your pick of any bat-free zone
with ghosts.
Bat-free zone. Yeah,
sure.
You know, ghosts are no extra though. We don't charge extra for the ghosts.
Okay, so glad to know that.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you have a book that you want to, or an anecdote that you want to antic?
You know, I don't know that I'm going to do an anecdote today. I'm going to comment on, astrologically speaking, it currently is Mercury retrograde, right? And so Mercury retrograde is when the planet Mercury, if you were to look at it in the night sky, would appear to be going backward rather than forward. And because Mercury is very close to Earth, it has purview over quite a few things. So it rules communication, partnerships, agreement, moving parts, travel, transportation. What else, Anne? It's like a whole gamut of stuff.
Yeah, don't sign a contract, accept a new job.
Right.
Because it won't work out the way you want.
Right. It's always where you think your expectation is going to be X, but if you do commit during Mercury retrograde, and don't get married, if you do commit during Mercury retrograde, your expectations will fall short. So it can be a little bit of a dicey time. It's also a time when people are kind of grumbly and bitchy and quick to temper.
Crazy drivers.
Yeah, crazy drivers.
But it is a good time for creativity.
Very good time for creativity.
Revisiting things that you put off.
Yeah.
If you're looking to sign a contract, you can reevaluate the contract before choosing to sign it. Great time to kind of declutter. And right now, Mercury is in the planet of Venus. So relationships are being reevaluated. You're working out the communication crinkles or wrinkles that are happening in relationships, both with friends and loved ones. So it can be a very good thing. It makes us slow down. It makes us take stock of kind of where we're at. And
it tests all the weak links.
Yeah.
So if you have an issue in a relationship, Mercury retrograde just blows that up a little bit. You know, it just makes it the focus. So it's not a time necessarily of strife between partnerships. It's a time where the opportunity to work out a central issue that has not been addressed before takes place. So, so from that standpoint, Sandy, you're absolutely right. It can be actually a really good benefit. So anyway, so it's Mercury retrograde. And the one thing that they kind of tell you as well is like, don't make a lot of purchases and don't purchase things over like $100. Like, don't buy a new car. So
that's a bad idea.
Yeah. Because it's got moving parts and it rules travel transportation. And it's also partnerships and agreements, especially if you finance the car. So what do I stumble upon last night? I stumbled upon an FJ Cruiser, which is the car that I just bought. These are vintage cars. They were last made in 2014, and they are so badass and fantastic and wonderful. And it's very, very hard to find one under 100,000 miles. And I stumble upon one that's got 27,000 miles on it, and it's completely loaded. And I'm like, thank the baby Jesus that I already have one parked in my driveway, because I would have been like, Mercury Retrograde be damned. And I would have pulled the trigger on that sucker and been like, it's mine. And then it, probably would have died in my driveway. So, it is a time of like, temptation. But
it's
speaking of
things don't go according to plan is kind of the way I always think about Mercury Retrograde.
Right. Expectations are very rarely met. So I've been in a streak lately where things that I am thinking like, okay, I want this thing. Like I want, like a certain sweater, or I want a certain shoe or whatever. I have been just hitting them like, right. And I'm like, well, it's a little over $100. Should I pull the trigger? So I got in as many of those little purchases as I could right before Mercury went retrograde. And now I'm just like saving. So I've been on Pinterest, going favorite, hoping that they don't sell out, until after Mercury goes direct, I think the end of September. So look, I'm sorry, middle of September. So like around the 15th. So around the 25th, I will be like, add to cart. But the one purchase that I did get in, and Sandy and I were talking about like, there are two little luxe items that I've really wanted this thing, and Sandy has really wanted her thing. They're vastly different, but we've both found the perfect thing that we wanted. I've always wanted a pair of Gucci sunglasses, and like always. And I just think they're so glamorous, and I just really like their style. So a couple days before Mercury retrograde hit, I'm, I'll just, take a look around, and I don't want to say that these look fucking fabulous on me. But these look
you don't want to say, but I'm forced to.
If I'm forced to,
yes,
I will say that these look fucking, I mean, aren't they? Hello, right? And since we're doing a Hollywood thing today, I thought it's the perfect time.
Came dressed for the
part.
These
off.
Dressed for the part. Yeah.
Like, look at how gorgeous they are. Look at
girl. So
aren't they
for
beautiful?
Those of you that don't know Victoria and myself all that well, the difference between Victoria and I are, I'll see something I really want and I won't buy it. Victoria
ever. I see something for 2 seconds. My nickname is add to cart. Like, that's my fucking nickname. Oh, have you talked to add to cart yet? Oh, is she up? She's adding to cart. That's where she is.
I can
want to find me. I'm clicking.
Yeah, clicking. Add to cart. Yeah.
So your thing.
Yeah,
I want to talk to you into buying.
I have it. I'm not doing it.
What?
I want a paddleboard, but I'm in New England and I'm thinking practicalities. I don't want to buy something I can only use for a month. So, and then have to store it and
store it. It's inflatable.
I know.
It stores in like a box.
No, it's bigger than that, but
okay.
Yeah. All right. So here's the thing for our listening audience. If you think I should buy the paddleboard, let me know. Leave me a comment.
She still won't buy it, but you can absolutely chime in. You can be like, girl, pull that trigger.
No, you know what? If you use a paddleboard, I would love to hear from you.
You're going to use it.
Yeah, I want to know if it's worth it for those people that own a paddleboard. So if you're inclined to let me know in the comments, I would love your feedback.
You know what I have never heard from anybody that I know owns a paddleboard? Wish I hadn't gotten that thing.
Okay.
Never heard that. They've all been like, oh, paddleboard season.
Yes. Well, we'll see. Anyway, so today's episode is again Hollywood themed, which is why Victoria has her sunglasses handy and available. This is kind of a two-parter where we're doing a little bit of a wrap up. Today we have 3 intriguing stories. 2 of them are current and in the news. One is a hilarious story. And then next week we'll spend time talking more about Hollywood stars and their relationships, which is always intriguing and hopefully hopefully intriguing.
Because it's Mercury retrograde that I'm going to drop these. Like that's just going to lose them or drop them. That's just going to happen.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen. So
I'm going to put them in a vault until Mercury goes direct.
All right.
I'm lying. I'm wearing them constantly, even to bed. But
these are my readers.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to know why the next book is going to have so many typos, it's because I was typing half blind. Yes, with those on. But anyway,
all right. So we have 3 stories to share with you today. The first one is
I don't know how you're going to read this without laughing, Sandy, because I can't. I giggle the entire time I read this. It was just
okay. So the title of this particular story is Who Spiked the Chowder? On the night of August 9th, 1996, the Titanic movie film set, which was in Halifax, Nova Scotia, erupted into chaos shortly after filming had paused for a late afternoon lunch break. The craft services team had served seafood chowder that was so delicious, several crew members had 3 or 4 bowls worth, which unfortunately proved to be a big mistake. By midnight, the assistant director had his hands full trying to make sense of the mass confusion that had overtaken the set by dividing the crew into 2 groups. The good crew, those that were behaving normally, and then there was the bad crew, those that were clearly high on an unknown substance. Reportedly, the director, James Cameron, had run out of the soundstage door yelling, "There's something in me, get it out!" At first, the culprit was suspected to be red tide, which is a naturally occurring toxin that can make shellfish hazardous to eat, but it was later determined that someone had spiked the seafood chowder with the drug PCP. PCP is also known as angel dust, is a dissociative anesthetic mainly used recreationally for its significant mind-altering effects. Behavioral outcomes vary by dosage. Low doses produce a numbness in the extremities and intoxication. High dosages can result in convulsions. The psychological effects include body image dysmorphia, loss of ego boundaries, hallucinations, paranoia, euphoria, and even aggressive and/or violent behavior. Like most mind-altering drugs, the effects of PCP are unpredictable. Some people become detached and others become animated, and yet others can have feelings of superior strength, power, and invincibility. Within an hour of realizing that they had a problem on their hands, the bad crew had grown even larger as more members of the production succumbed to the drug, which, in addition to director James Cameron, was actor Bill Paxton, who reportedly was enjoying his high. While sober personnel attempted to keep the situation under control, the intoxicated group flooded the emergency room of the nearby Dartmouth General Hospital. The nursing staff encountered some patients who were freaking out and others who were having a riotous time, raising hell and doing wheelies in wheelchairs in the hospital hallways. Presuming it was food poisoning, the medical team initially distributed liquid charcoal to each film set patient. But once it was determined that the crew had been drugged, the hospital staff did their best to keep everyone calm and safe. But the small overnight hospital staff had their hands full. Somewhere between 50 and 80 people were admitted to the hospital, and as early morning hours wore on, there was no stopping the agony or the ecstasy that had broken out. According to James Cameron, some people were laying on gurneys, moaning, crying, and wailing, while others, led by the director of photography, were dancing down the hall in a highly vocal conga line. By sunrise, those who had visited the hospital came down from their highs. And fortunately, no one had been poisoned or worse, died from their drug-induced event. But upon being discharged, most of the crew returned to their accommodations to sleep so they could be ready to work on the upcoming evening shoot. The Halifax set was dedicated to filming the scenes between Bill Paxton, who played the treasure hunting researcher, and then 86-year-old Gloria Stewart, who portrayed the elderly version of Kate Winslet's character, Rose. It's unclear whether Gloria Stewart actually ate half a bowl of the spiked seafood chowder or if she was instead off dining in a restaurant that night. It kind of depends on who you ask. Luckily, stars Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio were nowhere near the Halifax, Nova Scotia set. They were with a second film crew in Rosarito, Mexico, filming some flashback sequences. The Titanic production was $100 million over budget, making it at that time the most expensive film ever produced. The spiking of the seafood chowder with PCP created yet another headache for the studio executives at Paramount and Fox, which were co-financing the film. On August 27th, the Nova Scotia Department of Health sent producer John Landau a letter stating that its inspection confirmed that the chowder contained PCP, also known as angel dust. Quote, "I have handed this investigation over to the Halifax Regional Police Service, who I'm sure will be in touch with you," end quote. Health official Meredith Blake wrote. The following day, the police released a statement announcing a criminal investigation. The Canadian investigation ramped up as director James Cameron turned his focus to the Rosarito, Mexico set to continue filming. While most of the Nova Scotia crew did not travel to Rosarito, at least one craft services operator did. He was rumored to have been taken away at gunpoint by the Mexican police because he had been accused of the PCP incident by someone else on the crew, but word came back that he was the wrong person. With dubious accusations abound, the investigation continued for 2.5 years, but yielded no real results. The case was officially closed in February of 1999, leaving wrongdoers or wrongdoer at large. No one knows who was responsible or why the seafood chowder was spiked with PCP, yet 25 years later, theories persist. Could it have been a disgruntled crewman who may have been fired by a temperamental director and sought revenge via craft services? Or was it a caterer with their own employment grievances? Or a prank gone too far? Or perhaps it was someone that planned a kickoff party on what was meant to be the crew's final night in Nova Scotia before production relocated to Mexico. Perhaps my beautiful sister knows what actually happened. My sources for this story included Vulture magazine, 25 years later, No One Knows Who Spiked the Titanic Chowder by Matthew Jacobs, December 22nd, 2022, and Wikipedia Encycliding. So what do you think happened?
Well, I think it was a minor character. It was either a crew member or a what is it when they have people who don't speak lines? So a sub character, but not.
Oh, okay.
You know,
yeah,
what
like
an
extra.
Extra, yeah. I have a feeling it was like a combo. I really always have felt it was more than one person. It was like 2 to 3, and I've always felt it was 2 men and 1 woman. And I don't think that there was any malice intended. I think that they just thought, wouldn't this be funny? And I think they thought that when they themselves were high on PCP.
Makes sense.
So I think that they were just about, let's share the love, and didn't realize that the clam chowder was going to be so desired by people who were like, this is the best thing I've ever tasted. So they, went for distribution in an agent that I think they thought would water it down, not realizing people were going to go back for bowlful after bowlful. And then it just really got out of hand. And I think that they about shit themselves because of the the calamity and how much trouble they were really in. But I really feel that they've managed to kind of keep mum about it, because they'd be behind bars if they ever told anybody. So yeah. I've always felt it was more than one person. I've always felt it was about 3, 2 men, 1 woman, a combination, I think, of crew members and maybe an extra, or something. These feel like they knew each other for a long time, that these guys were buddies, and they were, themselves partying and thought, wouldn't it be funny? And it was.
Yeah. Pay off.
So, I just love the conga line thing. Yeah. Like, I just, yes, it's terrible. It's dangerous. This could have really ended tragically. Thank God it didn't. But, at first blush, it's really, I think, fucking hilarious. So.
Well, I think what's hilarious is that 86-year-old Gloria Stewart, nobody knows if she actually ingested the chowder or was she out actually having dinner,
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
86 years old on PCP. Yeah, not a good idea.
I don't, no one knows how anybody's going to react, right?
True.
So, and if she ate clam chowder, she probably didn't go back for 3rds or 4th, because she's 86 years old. Yeah. So she probably had a small portion if she ate it. Yeah. I don't know if she ate it or not. I'm not, dialed in that well to say, oh, she did or didn't.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Supposedly Bill Paxton ended up leaving the hospital and wanted to go off in his own room and enjoy his high, and got a 6-pack of beer and just sort of spent the night chilling.
Nursing it along.
Yeah, nursing it along. So, whereas James Cameron, I have a feeling he was one of the guys wailing on a gurney.
Absolutely. He was, because he'd be like, hey, there were people that were really traumatized and they were wailing on gurneys. He's the last person to admit, and I was one of them, yes. He's king of the world. Yes. So, yeah, I love that story. I think it's hilarious.
Well, do you think that there'll ever be an arrest or no? Okay.
No,
To the
they were
grave.
taking that secret to the grave.
Good.
And I don't think anybody is even like, I don't even think anybody was suspicious of who it could be. I think that this was really a tightly held secret. And between, I think, 3 individuals, they didn't share it with anybody else and never admitted to it. And truly, I think these guys are taking it to the grave because they'd be finished.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely finished. So
Yeah.
they have a big secret to protect.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next story is about the Hollywood writers strike and the actors strike that's going on right now. So at midnight on May 2nd, 2023, the Writers Guild of America, which is the WGA, representing about 11,000 screenwriters, went on strike over an ongoing labor dispute with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. The main points of the labor dispute by the writers are residuals from streaming media. The WGA claims that the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which is the AMPTP. They claim that the producer's share of such residuals has cut much of the writer's average income compared to a decade ago. Most streaming contracts are not covered by something called the Minimum Basic Agreement, which expired on May 1st, 2023. So that also inspired the strike. Writers also want artificial intelligence, such as ChatGPT, to be used only as a tool that can help with research or facilitate script ideas, and not as a tool to replace writers. The Guild also wants requirements for mandatory staffing and duration employment terms to be added to their contract, which would require all shows to be staffed with a minimum number of writers for a minimum amount of time, whether they are needed or not. And then another important proposal that the WGA is advocating for is to ensure each member of a writing team receives their own pension and their own healthcare funds. Seems fairly reasonable. Since July 14, 2023, a SAG-AFTRA, which is the Screen Actors Guild - American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, their strike went into effect as part of a series of broader Hollywood labor disputes. At issue by SAG-AFTRA are regulating the use of artificial intelligence, including an industry-wide shift to self-taping, and for studios to, for a one-time fee equivalent to 1 day's pay, have exclusive and indefinite rights to extras' likeness, including the use of generative AI to replicate them on screen. The other issue is economic fairness. Wages and residuals, including the agenda by the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers to cut actors' salaries so that they can pad corporate profits. The Hollywood strike is the largest interruption to American film and television production since the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, as well as the largest labor stoppage that the WGA has performed since the strike of 1988, which lasted for 153 days. The current strike jeopardizes long-term contracts created during the media streaming boom when producers were shelling out large sums to creative talent. The big studios can terminate those production deals now with writers through a force majeure clause, which after 90 days, it ends up saving them millions of dollars. So the strike in actuality is benefiting a lot of the movie studios or production studios these days. Talks between the opposing sides have been sporadic throughout the summer. And at the moment, there is no date to return to the negotiating table as the Writers Guild strike heads into its 18th week. So my sources include The Hollywood Reporter, talks between writers' studios at a standstill after a week of trading bars by Leslie Goldberg, August 25th, 2023. Wikipedia, 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike. Wikipedia, 2023 Writers Guild of America strike. So do you have a feel, Victoria, for when this will come to a conclusion?
As it happens, I actually did a reading several weeks ago for a writer-director. And I was really hoping that there would be kind of a fairly quick resolution, and there's none in sight. I saw this going out to like May. Like
Wow.
there are aspects of this that will go out that long, and no one wins. The studios just have too much power. And it's really, really unfortunate because television writers were making a pittance. You know, these guys they work and work and work and work. And, you know, when you're a writer on a television show for about 13 to 20 weeks, you're working pretty much every single day. You're in the dungeon. You have to like give your life over to these productions. And most of them earn about $50,000 a year. Like it's left, and they have to live in LA. Mm-hmm. So it's they starve. They honestly starve, and the studios don't care because they can continue to just sort of squeeze writers because writers are faceless. So it's kind of like, well, of course they want AI because that's a faceless thing as well. So there's no connection to a person versus a star, right? There's a connection to a star. So that's why stars are paid the big bucks and writers are not, even though the stars are just basically repeating the writer's content. I wrote a screenplay years ago and was shopping it, and I was like floored to learn how little money there is attached to a large studio like Hallmark if they want to purchase an original screenplay. It's like less than $30,000. And if you only get one of those sold in, it's very, very competitive. If you only get one of those sold in, then basically that's your salary for the year. It's about $30,000. There's just not any money in the writing of it. So nothing here that the writers or the actors are asking for is unreasonable. And AI has the opportunity to completely upend the industry in a very, very unfair way. So I really wish I saw a more positive outcome for writers and actors in general. And I can't say that I do, because it just feels like it goes on and on and on and on. And the studios have all of the money. They can just kind of wait for people to lose their houses, for people to lose hope, for, you know, savings accounts to be drained. So they have the power here. And I don't necessarily see a good outcome, which is really, really unfortunate.
For both sides, or just for the writers and the actors?
Really just for the writers and the actors. There's a compromise, I think, that will be reached in May, but really, I don't think they come out much, you know, their conditions don't really come out much improved, unfortunately, because they're just not in a position of power. The only thing that they can do is delay the start of production, and that hurts them much more than the studios.
Well, so I will say that's 2 television seasons plus the big movie season that are being jeopardized without any production happening around those things. So the studios have to be counting on the fact that there's enough content to keep an audience engaged between now and next May.
They just run the what is it? The you know, the Survivors and the game shows,
reality shows.
Yeah, reality TV, which I know you like certain aspects of it, but I fucking hate it.
Just one show. Just
cannot stand reality TV.
Oh,
like it's just loud and obnoxious, and there's no real good story there. It's all about these archetypes that don't really even exist in nature, so to speak. So I'm not looking forward to it. I'm revisiting a few shows already that I've already seen before. So like A Place to Call Home, which is one of our favorites. I'm reviewing that because I absolutely love that show. I don't know. This feels like next May before it's even resolved. And then you're talking, even if they ramped up and got right to work, you're still talking 6 months before you start to see good quality television back on the air. So, and I think that the blueprint of the pandemic is helping the studios go, well, we've weathered this before. We know what this looks like, and we're better prepared now than we were in 2020.
Yeah.
So, so they have all of the advantages, and it just sucks. And I wish I saw a better outcome. I just don't, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, all right. So our third story and final story for today's podcast is surrounding the controversy about The Blind Side. So the Oscar-winning film, The Blind Side, chronicled the supposed rescue of Michael Oher out of an impoverished life in Memphis, Tennessee by a wealthy white family, the Tuohys. On August 14, 2023, Oher, now a retired NFL star, filed a petition in a Shelby County probate court with allegations that a central element of the Blind Side story was a lie concocted by the family to enrich itself at his expense. The 14-page petition alleges that Sean and Leanne Tuohy, who took Michael Oher into their home as a high school student, never actually adopted him. Instead, less than 3 months after the promising athlete turned 18 in 2004, the petition claims that the couple tricked him into signing a document making them his conservators, which gave them legal authority to make business deals in his name. The petition further alleges that the Tuohys used the conservatorship to strike a deal with Hollywood producers that paid them and their two birth children, Collins and SJ, millions in royalties from the Oscar-winning film The Blind Side that grossed more than $300 million at the box office and tens of millions of dollars from syndication, while Oher got nothing for a story that would not have existed without him. In the years since, the Tuohys have continued calling the now 37-year-old Oher their adopted son and have used that assertion to promote their charitable foundation, as well as Leanne Tuohy's work as an author and motivational speaker. The legal filing also says Michael Oher discovered, to his chagrin and embarrassment in February of 2023, that the conservatorship, to which he consented on the basis that doing so would make him a member of the Tuohy family, in fact, provided him no familial relationship with the Tuohys. Oher's petition asks the court to end the Tuohy's conservatorship and to issue an injunction barring them from using his name and likeness. It also seeks a full accounting of the money that the Tuohys earned using Oher's name and to have the couple pay him his fair share of the profits, as well as unspecified compensatory and punitive damages. According to the legal filing, the movie paid the four members of the Tuohy family each $225,000 plus 2.5% of the film's defined net profit proceeds. While the deal allowed the Tuohys to profit from the film, the petition alleges a separate 2007 contract purportedly signed by Michael Oher appears to give away to 20th Century Fox Studios the life rights to his story without any payment whatsoever. The filing says that Oher has no recollection of signing that contract, and even if he did, no one explained its implications to him. His petition also states that the contract in question lists all four of the Tuohy family members as having the same representative at Creative Arts Agency, but Michael Oher's agent, who would receive the movie contract and payment notices, is listed as Deborah Brannon, a close family friend of the Tuohys and the same lawyer who filed the 2004 conservatorship petition. Given that the success of the 2009 movie The Blind Side coincided with the start of Michael Oher's lucrative NFL career with the Baltimore Ravens, he did not take the time to fully investigate the entertainment deal until after he retired in 2016, when he hired an attorney to help him uncover the details surrounding the movie deal and his legal connection to the Tuohys, whom he believed were his adoptive parents. His lawyer unearthed the conservatorship document this past February, which is when Michael Oher came to the painful realization that the Tuohys had not adopted him. For years, Michael Oher has chafed at how The Blind Side depicted him, saying publicly it hurt his football career and clouded how people view him. He has said that based on the film, some NFL decision makers assumed he was mentally slow or lacked leadership skills. However, he was content to live with the movie myth due to its inspirational message, but that has changed. There has been so much created from The Blind Side that I'm grateful for, which is why you find it a shock that the experience surrounding the story has also been a large source of some of my deepest hurt and pain over the last 14 years, Oher wrote in his book, When Your Back's Against the Wall, which was released in early August. Beyond the details of the deal, the politics and the money behind the book and the movie, it was the principle of the choice some people made that cut me the deepest. The Tuohy family's lawyer, Martin Singer, has stated that when author Michael Lewis, a friend of Sean Tuohy's since childhood, was approached about turning his 2006 book, The Blind Side: Evolution of the Game, into a movie, the author's agents negotiated a deal where the family received a small advance from the production company and a tiny percentage of the profits. The Tuohys insisted that any money received be divided equally. Singer claims the Tuohys, quote, have made good on that pledge, end quote, to divide the profits equally. The lawyer also claims that evidence will show that the family has given Mr. Oher an equal cut of every penny received, which was documented in profit participation checks and studio accounting statements. Author Michael Lewis has publicly denied that he or members of the Tuohy family saw a profit from the film adaptation of Michael Oher's life story. The Hollywood studio system is more at fault for Oher's lack of profit participation than the Tuohys personally, says Lewis. He claimed that once agent fees and taxes were taken out of his and the Tuohys' cut, he and the Tuohy family received around $350,000 each from the profits of the film. The author said the Tuohys planned to share the royalties, but Oher declined. Lewis claimed he was under the impression that the family deposited Michael's share in a trust fund for his benefit. Broderick Johnson and Andrew Kosov, Alcon Entertainment co-founders and producers of The Blind Side, have also addressed the profit participations at the center of Michael Oher's recent lawsuit. Quote, the deal was made by Fox for the Tuohy and Michael Oher's life rights was consistent with the marketplace at the time for the rights of relatively unknown individuals, end quote. Therefore, it did not include significant payouts in the event of the film's success. As a result, the notion that the Tuohys were paid millions of dollars by Alcon to the detriment of Michael Oher is false. Oher and 4 members of the Tuohy family were collectively paid approximately $767,000 in payments delivered through their talent agency for The Blind Side. Alcon Entertainment also responded to an allegation in Michael Oher's petition that Sean Tuohy amended the agreement for Oher's life story in 2010 without his knowledge, after which the Tuohy's Making It Happen Foundation received $200,000 from Alcon Entertainment. Alcon claims the company offered to donate an equal amount to a charity of Mr. Oher's choosing, which he declined. Sean Tuohy, who is the Tuohy family patriarch, told the Daily Memphian that the conservatorship at the center of Michael Oher's petition had nothing to do with the movie, but was a way to satisfy the NCAA when it appeared Michael might play football at the University of Mississippi. Quote, Michael was obviously living with us for a long time, and the NCAA didn't like that, end quote. Quote, they said the only way Michael could go to Ole Miss was if he actually was a part of the family. So Sean claims he sat Michael down and told him, quote, if you're planning to go to Ole Miss or even considering Ole Miss, we think you have to be a part of the family. This would do that legally, end quote. Sean Tuohy has said that if Michael wants to end the conservatorship now, he would of course be willing to end it. He also told the Daily Memphian that he began to sense a growing distance between Michael and the Tuohys starting a year and a half ago. Quote, we're devastated. It's upsetting to think we would make money off of our children, end quote. Sean Tuohy has said, but we're going to love Michael at 37 just like we loved him at 16, end quote. My sources for this story include ESPN.com, Blindside Subject, or alleges Tuohy's made millions off of a lie by Michael A. Fletcher, August 14, 2023. People Magazine, Blindside author Michael Lewis feels sad for Michael Oher, says Tuohy family showered him with love by Angel Saunders, August 17, 2023. Deadline, The Blindside Producers on Michael Oher Lawsuit Controversy by Matt Grober, August 24, 2023. NPR, Tuohy family responds to Michael Oher's allegations of his false adoption by Jonathan Franklin, August 16, 2023. And finally, People Magazine, Blindside Producers defend the film, reveal actual profit made by the Tuohys and Michael Oher by Sean Newman, August 25th, 2023. So what's your take on this?
It's such a sad story, really, truly, and they're coming at it from, this big gulf, right?
Yeah.
Like Michael Oher is like, these people were basically predatory, and the Tuohys are like, we loved him, right? And so the truth, I believe, is somewhere in the middle. I do know that when studios are writing contracts for books, right, to turn books into movies, the profits that they say that they'll share, residuals that they say that they will share, are always sort of minimal at best, because it's a percentage of net profit, and the studios know how to kind of move the decimals around and the numbers around to show we didn't make a profit. And yet, studio executives are stuffing their pockets with a shit ton of money. So from the perspective of the Tuohys making millions of dollars off of the story, I don't see it, because my experience in that world doesn't necessitate that actually happened, that was actually negotiated. The thing that upsets me is that they absolutely had the opportunity to adopt Michael, and they didn't. And
they did not. He turned 18, and they were not allowed to adopt him at age 18. So that's why they opted for the conservatorship. That's what the articles I researched said. So
okay, Washington Post said that they could have adopted him, because I read that article. So that's another thing to kind of be worked out in the courts. I do know that at 18, you don't have any kind of sophistication as far as contracts are concerned, or the legal ramifications of certain things. And I think he trusted the Tuohys to make him a member of the family, which I don't think they ever did. Yeah. I think that they set up this conservatorship. It definitely was to their advantage. It wasn't necessarily to Michael's advantage. And they milked it. And I think he suffered tremendous hurt and betrayal as a result of it. I don't feel that they come out shiny, squeaky clean at all, like at all. And the fact that their kids benefited, their birth children benefited, and he did not, upsets me. That upsets me. That's bullshit, honestly. So, it'll be worked out in court. The details of it probably will never be known because there'll obviously be some sort of settlement agreement. But the Tuohys have never hurt for money. They own many fast food restaurants. These are very wealthy people, and to have enriched themselves off of Michael just feels icky to me. Just feels gross. So, yeah, it's sad. It's unfortunate. So.
Okay. Well, you see, however, some kind of legal agreement coming forth, and
it's going to be years.
Okay.
It'll be years, but it'll end up being a settlement of sorts. And I think it'll be a sealed settlement. I don't think the details will be made public. Right now, a lot of the details are being made public because it serves both sides.
Right.
So they're, the Tuohy's claim, like, we're innocent, we had no idea. And Michael's claim of, you knew absolutely what you were doing, and you were 100% taking advantage of me, and you treated me one way, but yet behind my back, you did this legal thing that put me at a disadvantage. I think he's more right than wrong. And that's truly what upsets me is, yet it's another white savior story, right? Taking advantage of this man's talent, portraying him as being mentally slow. We all watched the movie. We all saw Sandra Bullock being the brains behind, this football player, that football play. And it was like, it's laughable. It's absolutely fucking laughable that this housewife would know more about football than this young man who'd been playing much of his life. Like, it's ridiculous. So, it gets me upset. It gets me upset because it's just another example, of this kind of thing. So I wish him the best. I wish they pay up some money.
Okay.
That's where I stand.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your insights on all three of these stories. Hopefully everybody found them intriguing. Yeah. And we'll be back next week.
Entertaining at the very least.
Yeah, at the very least. We'll be back next week with another Hollywood roundup that's going to focus more on some Hollywood star relationships that are in the news at the moment. So
do we want to give them a
no, I do not. No, hint? I do not. No, I don't, because I don't know what I've written yet. So
okay.
I also just
I know who we're going to focus on.
Okay. I don't. So thank you.
I intuitively know who we're going to focus on. So whatever, you're writing this thing, so you run with it.
All right. I do want to thank you.
You do want to thank
our fans for offering up different case ideas. Thank you. I am making note of them, and I am organizing and getting prepared to do some research. A lot of them look super intriguing. So thank you very much for your suggestions. And I guess until next time, thank you all for tuning in. If you like our podcast, please subscribe and leave us a comment. We love hearing from you. And
if you want to learn more about me, the books, sign up for a reading, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, visit victorialaurie.com, where my new profile picture will be this.
Okay. You got it now. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it.
These. I so know I will. I love them. In the short term that I have them, I love them. Anyway, love you, honey.
Love you too. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.